I'm gonna admit, we on the left do joke about killing white people and white genocide and fuck white people a lot. Like, we really do. I mean, like one of the running jokes in my chat is the people who aren't subbed to me are white names, and we need to exterminate the white names, like white name genocide. Now, the reason why we do this is because, generally speaking, nowhere in the world are white people oppressed systemically for their race. Now, white people are oppressed because of their class, being working class, but it's never because they're white. On the other hand, though, shit tons of other races are oppressed on the basis of their race all over the world. Black people here in America are oppressed because of their race here, you know? Now, it's a more nuanced conversation than everybody in the system is racist and they don't like black people, but it is a conversation worth having. And because white people are more or less on top when it comes to demographics, we feel, as the left, pretty confident that we can joke about things like white genocide and yada 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 without enforcing any actual harmful beliefs or practices in the real world. Now, the reason why I think it's probably not the best to do, except for very, particular circumstances, because it can be bad optics. A lot of teenage dipshit white boys that watch a random lefty video might stumble across my channel and see me joking about white genocide and think I'm serious and be like, ha, the left really does want to kill white people. The left really does hate white people. But no. While there are certainly people on the left who actually do hate white people, believe me, I'm on the left and I'm white. I encounter them. They are a infinitesimally small portion of the left. A almost unimportantly small amount of the left. I know, Vermin, you're doing the joke, I get it, but very small amount of people on the left. So I don't really feel that they're worth making a big deal about, but the right does, because the right knows that if you're just like a, random dipshit white boy, it's really easy to show you a bunch of straw men of the left and a bunch of cherry-picked instances of anti-white rhetoric coming from the left and say, oh, the left hates white people. But regardless, here's our soft boy John Doyle. Whoa! Chill the fuck out, buddy. Anyway, we have our little soft boy John Doyle here. We'll turn him up to 1.5 speed because this is a pretty long video. We have our soft boy John Doyle here. He's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, it looks like here, which is odd. He's usually wearing like a suit. Yeah, I guess he's cutting loose a little bit today. I appreciate it. Now, debating whether or not I should say this. Fuck. I'm debating whether or not I should say... I'm debating how much of this I can say without violating the wishes of the person who told me this. How much can I say? I'm gonna say it, okay? Someone who I will not name or assign a gender to, who knew John Doyle in real life for a long time, messaged me on Instagram saying that they knew John Doyle from real life very closely, very well, and that John Doyle isn't exactly a very good person behind the scenes. He's very forceful, he's very pushy with his traditional values on people he's associated with. And they knew this, all right, and they did not want to be named because they don't want it being used against him. But I feel as long as I am careful not to name exactly who they are, I can say that. Now, obviously, I was fairly hesitant to believe this at first, so I went and I looked at this person's Instagram account, and there were pictures from a long time ago of them with John Doyle. Like years ago, before he even started YouTube. So yeah, I'm pretty fucking like that were posted a long time ago. So I'm pretty confident this person was legit. Yeah, so apparently John Doyle is like super fucking authoritarian to even like his friends and family and whatnot, towards like with his beliefs. Like he is very pushy with all of it to the point of making people uncomfortable. So just thought I'd throw that out there. Just because we're covering John Doyle, why not? Let's see what he has to say. Whoa! What? Oh, it was. Wait.
We've heard quite a lot about systemic racism recently in the news and in the media, and so hopefully we're going to get a chance to talk about why that's just not true at all. But we've also got a lot of different topics to get through, such as...
Wait. We've heard a lot about systemic racism in the media, but we're going to talk about how that's not true at all. Well, so for one, systemic racism is a thing that exists. The stats are out there. This is consensus. I feel like I've explained systemic racism so many times. Should I just do like a rundown of it first before we get into the video, or should I just argue against the points as they come up? I think I'll just argue against the points as they come up, because I'm running out of breath here. This has been a long stream.
As why white liberals hate themselves, whether Republicans can never get the black vote, why everyone thinks that fascists are bad but communists are cool, how Republicans set themselves up to lose with the left's morality, all sorts of stuff. So be sure to watch all the way through.
God, he just like flashed his shit up on screen there. The real racist 1863 Democrats, without slaves who will pick our crops. 2017 Democrats, without illegals who will pick our crops. Ha! What a nice juxtaposition, because in the 1800s, the Democrats supported slavery, but in the 2000s, 2010s, I guess, the Democrats support allowing immigrants to come to this country to seek out a better life than where they would have come from before. And oh my god, look how much of a fucking... Oh my god. Look what a boomer meme this is. Can we like appreciate that? Look at this watermark. Oh my god. Look at that watermark. Can we just appreciate that shit for a moment? Anyway, obviously I don't feel like I need to get really down and dirty with the nitty-gritty of why the juxtaposition of Democrats in the 1800s supporting slavery and Democrats nowadays wanting to allow immigrants to come from a country where they feel they had worse opportunity to come here and benefit the economy, live overall better lives than they would have elsewhere, and generally just have a net benefit to the country are the same thing. I don't feel like I need to really get into the nitty-gritty of how these aren't comparable, but okay.
Stuff, so be sure to watch all the way through. Watch in parts if you have to, but it's going to be very epic, so do stay tuned.
Epic. Oh yeah, we get to see his intro. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, his intro. Oh brother. Oh yeah.
John Doyle.
It's John Doyle! Hold on, can I do a radio guy voice, like Alistair the radio demon from Hasbin Hotel? John Doyle in. Heck off, commie! I feel like I can do a pretty good radio voice. How is this? How does it sound? John Doyle is a fuckboy. He wants to go back to the 1950s, but his smooth face would get beaten up in the locker room if he went to a public pool back then. What a pathetic soy boy. I feel like is that good? How is that? I'm not very good at impressions. The chat's saying it's good. Okay, I'm happy with that. Alright. I'm happy with that.
Heck off, commie.
Heck off, commie.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Heck Off Commie. Got a lot to talk about today. Very important video, very important topics. Seems like we've been gone for a while, but you know, that's just a cycle of things. I get stressed out about a bunch of stuff, I get depressed for a few days, and then I come back with a lot to say, and it usually makes for a pretty good video. So that's... Yeah,
I feel like lifeguard Joe Biden back in the 50s would have beaten up like John Doyle would have gotten bullied into joining Corn Pop's gang, and they would have like 1v3'd with the god tier fucking Chad that was Joe Biden back in the 50s. Now, Corn Pop was a bad dude, and I ran with a bunch of bad boys and a bad crew. You know, yeah. Got hairy legs.
Some stuff that you like, might say some stuff that you don't like, but you're at the very least going to want to watch all the way through. I would not steer you wrong, but I thought that I should first announce the long-awaited and much-requested Heck Off Commie Discord server. Is just
okay, please don't shill at me. Please don't. Please.
Which, of course, is very epic. We've also been doing Zoom call lotteries for members.
We are 1 minute and 30 seconds this video, and I've heard epic used as a descriptor for things twice.
PhD platform in the process, but I actually had a conversation like this at a grad party a few Sundays ago with a young lady who was very liberal, very far left, and I never drink. I don't like drinking, but I'll do it if I know it's going to be funny. Like if I'm going to drink, it's going to be to the point where it becomes someone else's problem. So at the time I was like, yeah, let's get wasted and bring up Black Lives Matter to the drunk white girls who have been spamming social media.
I would give all the money that I've made during this stream so far to see John Doyle drunk. Now, I'll admit, I'm not the most, solid, when it comes to drinking. It takes, a few, who was here for that stream the other day where we were celebrating getting our apartment? It took, 3 glasses of wine to get me buzzed. Who was here for that? Who remembers that? It was pretty, I would pay to see Xander Hall drunk. Well, Jade Monkey, you should have come to my stream the other day because I privated that VOD because I said, well, I accidentally showed my PayPal and it probably doxed a few of my donators, so I had to private the VOD. But yeah, you should have came here. You should have came here. I was not shit-faced. Come on. Yeah, you should have came and watched the stream. You should have come and watched the stream. If you didn't watch it, sorry. You should have watched. Should have watched. Lonnie told you not to not. I know. Listen, Vermin. I was a little buzzed. Okay. My my judgment wasn't on point. Okay.
And racism for the last 2 months, and for some reason I can actually articulate myself better and at a faster rate when I'm drunk. I don't know why, but anyway, so I'm talking to this girl for like an hour, and it concluded with her saying, you know, I'm too messed up to have this conversation right now, but I just want to say that I agree with like 90% of what you just said, and I'm sorry for misjudging you. And then Proxy Cameraman Matrix just stands up. He's like, the final red pill, John is reasonable. And I just thought that was very funny. But I also think the whole conversation is pretty emblematic of where we are as a country, because the people who are the most invested in these narratives, whether it's Black Lives Matter or whatever the civil rights movement of the week is, these people are always incredibly emotional. They're visibly invested emotionally into these things. And those who are inclined to agree...
Not me, buddy. Listen, I've decided the best way to take on politics is to be as sociopathic about it as possible. I no longer do the, this whole thing is r/that happened. I mean, yeah. Then everybody clapped. Then Shad stood up in the middle of the party and said, "Yo, John Doyle's red pill as fuck, bro!" And then they all realized how much of a red-pilled alpha male he is. And then he had the biggest, like every single woman at the party went and decided to fuck him in the bathroom, and he fucked so many women that night that he's now in the Guinness Book of World Records for most women fucked in one night. No, obviously this sounds very r/that happened, but regardless, let's get back to what I was saying before. I don't believe that having... I think emotion is fine to have, but for someone who does the kind of content that I do, I feel like having the most sociopathic outlook on these things is the best way to go about it, right? I am very confident that my political opinions are backed up by data and science and facts. I don't need to have an emotional attachment to my political views. I don't need to have an emotional attachment to the idea that trans people are valid. Instead, I just follow the data and the consensus, and it says trans people are valid. And so I back up that position. Systemic racism exists. I don't need to have an emotional attachment to the idea that systemic racism exists. The data is there, the facts are there, the studies are there, it's all there. All I have to do is point to the data, follow the data, and I come to the conclusion that I come to, and that's what I argue for. I try to argue for the truth of these things. And that's what I do. I don't feel like I need to have an emotional attachment for it. So hey, John Doyle, if you want somebody who isn't... John Doyle. If you want someone who is... I feel like I need to say it like that. John Doyle. If you want someone who isn't emotionally attached to these things, I'm the right guy to come to. I'm almost sociopathic about these topics.
These narratives might mistake that investment as passion. And I'm sure that there are a lot of very passionate people fighting on behalf of these narratives, but really what it comes down to is that these people are hurting on the inside, completely irrespective of the problems which these narratives supposedly seek to solve. It's not a coincidence that these people will attack you, ostracize you, just act viciously towards you, but then if you get them a little drunk, you find out that they're deeply insecure about themselves. They feel as though their lives have no meaning, etc. And that's one of the cores of liberty.
Wait, of course you would be emotionally attached to... Like, if you're black, and you're affected by systemic racism, of course you're like... Of course you're emotionally attached to that argument, or to that topic. Like, duh. Your PC audio is low? Is it? Oh, you guys couldn't hear that too well? Okay, sorry about that.
Liberalism. That is one of the largest predictors of a person identifying as left-wing, which is their level of insecurity.
Really? Can we get a citation on that? People who are insecure are more likely to be liberal? I'm pretty sure it's the other way around. Aren't people who are insecure more likely to be, like, right-wing? Like, to go towards, like, incel shit? And to... No, wait. No, I don't believe that at all without a citation, because intuitively speaking, everything about the right-wing ideology leads me to, would lead me to being right-wing. The incel shit, believing that the world needs to go back to an idealized time in the past where people like you would have actually were mandated girlfriends or whatever, like all that shit, right? Like, these are all right-wing ideologies. Like, can I get a citation on that? Because I'm sorry, but, like, intuitively speaking... That is not the conclusion that I would come to normally.
If you're insecure about yourself, you have a negative perception of yourself, maybe rightfully so. You know that you're not going to fare as well in a competitive system compared to someone who's confident and capable, but you still have an instinct to survive and to achieve what you believe is the best case scenario for yourself, whatever that may be. And so that would compel you to gravitate towards something like a system that can supposedly ensure equality and egalitarianism. And on top of that, it's a matter of identifying with struggle. What really woke me up to this was seeing one of my friends, a tweet from one of my friends.
I got a phone call. Let me check on it real fast. Apparently Spectrum calls you when you schedule an appointment to have a technician come out to your place. Apparently Spectrum calls you with like reminders for some reason that they're coming out to talk to you, or to not to talk to you, to do a thing. So they were just reminding me that tomorrow I have a thing. So okay, that's fine. All right, whatever. Thought I saw like a bend in the blinds behind me, because usually that's the cat, but the cat must be in the bedroom, I guess. Okay.
A couple years ago, this guy was never really into politics at all, but he did have some self-esteem issues since he didn't really have any goals or interests or anything like that. He was out of shape. And one day, I saw him reply to a tweet talking about, the families being separated at the southern border. And he said something like, the people replying to this saying that it's a good thing have never had to face any legitimate struggle in their lives. And it clicked. It's like, that's what it is. These people are projecting their internal struggles and insecurities onto these movements because they believe that they understand the struggle that these groups believe that they're facing. And because it gives...
All right, so there's a difference between what I do and what John Doyle's doing here. So what John Doyle is a sociopathic piece of shit who doesn't care about the well-being of other people. His goals are not to maximize human happiness at the end of the day and make the world a better place. Mine are. The issue is the way I go about coming to my opinions on what actions and behaviors and things we ought to advocate for are not emotionally based. I find my opinions and what I think we ought to do through data, consensus, scientific method, things like that, right? He, on the other hand, his opinions are completely based in whatever causes harm to those he doesn't like. That's more or less how he goes about it. So I want to make sure there's a very defined difference between that. Of course, yeah, I said based. His opinions are based in something. Yeah, okay, you did the thing. Yeah, love you, chat. Love you guys.
Gives them a sense of purpose in their lives. And we know that left-wing people already have much higher rates of mental illness than do right-wing people, but human beings gravitate...
Hey. Let's go back to that one right there.
It clicked. It's like, that's what it is. These people are projecting their internal... Left-wing people already have much higher rates of mental...
American Journal of Political Science. Correlation, not causation. The relationship between personality traits and political ideologies. I don't think what he just flashed on the screen says what he thinks it does. Let's go ahead and look at that source, because we always have to do this at least once. All right? Correlation, not causation. The relationship... I'm not even going to bother saying if he linked it in the description, I promise. Between personality traits and political ideologies. Alright. Let's see. Is this it? Yeah, this seems to be the one. Abstract. The assumption is in the personality and politics literature is that a person's personality motivates them to develop a certain political attitude later in life. The assumption is founded on the simple correlation between two constructs and the observation that personality traits are genetically influenced and develop in infancy, whereas political preferences develop later in life. The results suggest that personality traits do not cause people to develop political attitudes. Rather, the correlation between the two is a function of an innate common underlying genetic factor. The belief that personality traits are innate, genetically influenced... Like, this doesn't even say what he thought it did. I don't think this even says what he thinks it does. What I'm going to... Like, we're not going to read all of this, because holy fuck, I am not qualified to analyze all of this. Because, like, this is unsynthesized data for the most part, I think. Or this is more like a meta-analysis. Okay. What I'm going to assume this says, to be the most charitable I can possibly be to... John Doyle here, is if you are a more passionate, caring person, you're more likely to be on the left. If you are not a person that cares about well-being and things being good, if you are pro bad things, you are more likely to be on the right. That is the most charitable assumption of this data that I can give to John Doyle here. Do you think he was lying on purpose, or do you think he's just that fucking brain dead? It doesn't matter. I don't feel comfortable guessing on that.
Mental illness than do right-wing people, but human beings gravitate towards struggle. We need something to fight for. We need something to conquer. And when you've had everything handed to you...
Okay. This claim is often backed up by this one study, or this one handful of studies. Like, for example, the one where this guy built a rat utopia, and the rat utopia died out because they had nothing to... like, no adversity to overcome. This has been debunked a lot. Humanity doesn't need to constantly be in the face of some struggle or some constantly, it wasn't a utopia. It was, like, pretty fucking good. Like, some struggle they have to overcome, otherwise humanity will fall apart, okay? I'm pretty sure if all of the struggle was taken out of your life and you were allowed to chase your dreams and what you want to do without having any massive things get in your way, I'm pretty sure this wouldn't cause you to just, like, waste away and die or some shit, or humanity as a whole to do that.
You almost have to create your own struggle by convincing yourself that you're part of, like, freaking Dumbledore's army, but you're not. You're not part of Dumbledore's army. That's why there's so many rich white kids out there doing this, especially the affluent white liberal females.
John Doyle talking about white affluent female liberals after making a fucking Harry Potter reference. Oof. Tough scene.
The dregs of society, the single greatest destructive force in the history of global politics. Because on the one hand, you've got Black Lives
Wait, hold on. What?
Matter. And when you've had everything handed to you, you almost have to create your own struggle by convincing yourself that you're part of, like, freaking Dumbledore's army, but you're not. You're not part of Dumbledore's army. That's why there's so many rich white kids out there doing this, especially the affluent white liberal females, the dregs of society, the single greatest destructive force in the history of global politics. Because
white liberal females are the worst thing to happen to society and all of politics. What? Wait. Yeah, you gotta fight the femoids, my dude. Holy shit. Incel Andy here.
Because on the one hand, you've got Black Lives Matter, and it's a lot easier for Black Lives Matter and a lot more profitable for them to come out and say, hey, these issues that we're dealing with have nothing to do with choices that are made by Black Americans, and it has everything to do with white people. And white
yes! The personal choice argument! You fell for my trap card! Alright, chat. Load the Xander gods, okay? Because I'm about to have a Xander god moment, okay? Why do people make the choices that they do? Why does the black community make the choices that they do? Why? Is it because they just decide to be poor? They just decide to have children before they're ready to? They just decide to go to jail? They just decide to commit crime? It's not that simple. And if it were that simple, then our world would be way dumber, okay? No. People make the choices that they do because of the material conditions that they live in. How do we stop the black community from making bad decisions? We fix the material conditions that they live in. It is undeniable the black community is subjected to quite a bit of shit. Their material conditions in this country, statistically speaking, compared to white people, is fucking terrible. But if we fix that, maybe they'll be more likely to make good decisions. There's a reason why, despite what some Nazis on 4chan might tell you, because of some images that they managed to cobble together from non-existent data, rich black people commit less crime than poor white people. Because poor people commit crime. Most black people are poor. That's how it works. Help the current... Wait, did Liz, like, host me or something? Hey, Sedusi, I see you. Thank you. Help the position and the conditions that black people in this country are in at the moment, and you will see that they'll make better choices. That's how it works. That is how we solve this. We can talk about individual choice when talking about individuals, individual people specifically, when we're talking about massive demographics of people saying they need to make better decisions, they need to make better choices, does nothing. It does nothing. We aren't acknowledging any overall problems. We aren't going to get anything out of it. The only line of logic that leads to is, I don't know, black people are genetically predisposed to committing crime, and I guess we should just get rid of them all. Or lock them up. That's all we can do. But that's not going to solve any issues. If you actually want to make the world a better place and actually acknowledge why these people do the things that they do, it is to improve their economic, social, and overall material conditions in this country. Hit the root of the problem, and that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Yeah, it's the rap music and saggy pants gene that does it, honestly. All right. That was my Xander God moment for this stream.
People being racist. And if you disagree, it's because you're racist. Oh, by the way, asserting that problems...
Nobody says this, by the way. Nobody who actually knows what they're talking about says this. Nobody is saying that everybody in the system is racist. Hey, Sudosia. No one is saying that everyone in the system is racist, and that's why systemic racism exists. Systemic racism is called systemic racism because the outcomes of that system are racist. If black people overwhelmingly do not benefit from that system, or they are harmed by that system, then it is racist in outcome. I'm a consequentialist. I care about the outcomes of things. If the outcome is racist, then it's racist. Maybe don't be such a snowflake, and the second you hear racist, assume that, oh, he said racist. He must think that I hate black people. He must think that everyone hates black people. Oh, that's not how it works. It's a lot more nuanced than that, John Doyle. Use your brain for a moment.
Problems facing black Americans are largely the result of choices made by black Americans is less rude than asserting that they are caused by an entire race of people because they're racist, or even less human. In other words, if I'm a dick for saying that the reason black men are more likely to go to prison than white men is because they're more likely to commit violent crimes, then you're an even bigger dick for saying it's actually just because white people are all racist. But anyways.
Nobody's saying this, by the way. I'm not going to defend him against this claim because no one's saying it. Of course, black people don't go to prison more because all white people are racist or whatever. No. It's because black people are more likely to commit crime because of the socioeconomic factors and the socioeconomic position that black people are in this country leads them to be more likely to commit crime because, of course, because they're poor. Poverty leads to crime. And so they're more likely to go to jail. Listen, we're only going to watch like the first 10 minutes of this, okay? Because I don't know how many terrible arguments I can handle, okay? Usually these types of videos just lay out all their arguments at the beginning and then reiterate them for the next, 75% of the video, okay? So all we have to do is just sort of go over the beginning, okay? Is this the Micro Machines guy? I don't know what this guy's all about. Micro Machines? Nano Machines, son. I don't know. Is that what you're referencing? Fuck off. Twitch chat is cringe chat.
So on the one end, you have Black Lives Matter, and they can make a lot more money and get a lot more power, because remember, they're Marxists, by completely and totally absolving...
Wait. Black Lives Matter co-founder describes herself as trans... Wait. Did he just do the... How can you be anti-capitalist but make money? Did he just do that? Is that what he just did to me right now? Hold on. I need a drink of water so I can process that. Even if you are anti-capitalist, like myself, we don't live in an anti-capitalist society. Everyone's got bills to pay. Everyone's got to pay for shit. Everyone needs money to survive, no matter how anti-capitalist you are. If you can do your advocacy as a job and make money from it, and not only make enough money to survive, but also to bolster the reach of your message, then you should do it. Even if your message is that that money ought to be abolished, like there should be no money in existence, we should get rid of money. You still need money in a society with money to live and to spread that message to as many people as possible, because that's how your political ideology wins. That's how it works. So the whole, you're a Marxist and yet you make money, Like, also it's from donations, isn't it? Isn't it from like sponsorships and donations that they make their money? They don't even exploit labor, from my knowledge. I may be wrong, but I don't think they really benefit much from the exploitation of the working class. Don't they get their money through donations and like sponsorships? I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's where they get their money from.
Black Americans from any responsibility for their actions, and instead placing the blame on white people, America, and police officers. And then on the other hand, you have people such as the white liberal women and the soy boys going along with the narrative because they...
Okay, dude. Wait. He said that ironically, right? That was he said soy boy ironically there, right? Right? I'm just gonna listen, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna let you look at his face for a moment, and that's all I need. That's the argument against what he just said. I'm just gonna let you guys look at his face for about 10 seconds without saying a word. All right, did you enjoy that? Was that fun for you guys? You enjoyed that, right? That was fun. Okay, that was my argument against his claim that yeah, the soy boy thing. Okay.
They have no meaning in their lives, and they're insecure, and they want a community that they believe can resonate with their self-perceived struggle. That is why women...
Actually, wait, hold on, I'm gonna let him finish. He's about to have a big incel take. Incel Andy.
And weak feminine men are the most likely to virtue signal. If you are physically weak, you're high in agreeableness, then you need people to like you, because if they don't like you, they're just gonna...
The right virtue signals all the time. They're the ones that say, I'm not racist, but... And they do their little virtue signal, and they move on to do, like, the unironic racism. Okay. Wait, hold on. I'm actually very curious here. Really, really curious. What, women and weak men are more likely to virtue signal. So what he means by that is women and weak men are more likely to care about people and be on the left. That's what he actually means by that. I'm pretty sure. I feel confident saying that. God, God damn it. These pillows are fucking... I really can't wait for my chair to come. I really can't. My back cannot handle this chair for much longer.
Walk all over you, and so they pathologically virtue signal so as to advertise themselves as the most noble, most virtuous people in society, literally as a sort of like quasi-survival instinct to try to put themselves in the most optimal position possible. And so the reason I bring this up is because someone like me or you would have a very difficult time having an honest conversation with these people because they don't want to leave their mobs, and because any concession on their part would require a consideration of the fact that they're not actually that virtuous, and what they're doing isn't actually that groundbreaking, let alone making any progress towards actually solving the problems. You would...
Can he actually make a single specific argument? He's just talking about broadly like the left and BLM and all that, but he hasn't like cited a single argument. And the ones that he kind of has alluded to, like personal choice, which is already still broad on its own, I've blown the fuck out definitively. What? Can we get like an actual argument? I'm sorry. If by 10 minutes in he hasn't made an actual specific argument, we're ending it there, okay? Because I'm not going to listen to this dude repeat the same shit for the next you know, almost more than 30 minutes.
Literally have to get one of these people one-on-one and probably a little bit drunk for them to really tell you what's on their mind. Virtually everything else is just public display. And that's actually pretty dangerous for people like you and me because when you are that emotionally invested into something, because your entire sense of self is derived from it, you're not looking at the opposition as a human being who just happens to disagree with you. You're looking at them and everything that surrounds them as an enemy that has to be leveled and buried. And we are just now starting to see how dangerous...
Holy shit, can you make an argument? Like... You've literally based all of this on an r/that happened story. We were at a party and you've epically red-pilled and owned this drunk girl in a debate over systemic racism. This probably like, assuming this story did actually happen, which it could, it's within the realm of possibility. We'll assume it actually happened. You had this like drunk teenage white girl who posted the black screen on her social media with like the Black Lives Matter thing. And then you tried to get her to get into like the nitty-gritty of systemic racism, which is a very complex sociological like topic, with sociology. Like it takes a lot to know about it. Like, granted, I don't have a sociology degree or anything like that, but I feel I put in a lot of work to learn about these issues. And then she conceded to your arguments because she was drunk and said, "Oh, actually, I agree with you." And so this is what you're basing your entire video on. Okay. You got me, dude.
That actually is, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon, unfortunately. And that's why one of the things I've been saying recently is conservatives really need to get away from this whole, wow, look at these crazy liberals, haha, so triggered, it's just a political disagreement. What, you don't want to sit down and have a conversation with me? You don't want to have a dialogue with me? No, they don't. The ones in your neighborhood want you off their social media friends lists, and the ones out there rioting in major cities want you dead. Do not think for a second that they would let someone like you or someone like me live in their utopian society. So it might be time to stop sharing info.
Hey, John Doyle, listen. If you stop being a Nazi, we'll let you live in our utopian society, okay? We don't hate anybody for any, like, way they were born or anything. That's you guys. We hate you because of the political opinions that you hold. If you're a Nazi, if you had your way, and I would be dead, because you would have me killed. Like, this guy is a Nazi. If he had his way, he would have me killed. He would have probably black people killed. He would definitely have the gays and the trans people killed. He would have women subservient on their knees, barefoot, sucking dick, or making pies every day. He would have anybody who disagrees with him, political dissenters like me, probably killed. Obviously, we'd be killed last, of course. Like, this is the world that he strives for. The world we strive for is for everyone to be free to live as they want to, as long as they don't hurt others. not to be discriminated against or oppressed based on unchangeable things that they were born with, unless it's like being a pedophile, in which case, you know, you try to rehabilitate them out of being a pedophile. You don't want them to be a pedo anymore. Barring small examples like that, or if they hold views such as John Doyle, the Nazi here, that would like cause harm to most people. Which they would. Most people would be harmed by if John Doyle's ideal world were in place. The world is considerably better now than it was back in the 1950s, which is sort of John Doyle's preferred ideal time that he wishes the world would go back to.
Infographics on Facebook.com about how many people have been killed by communist regimes, and realize that you would be in that statistic. But it's not going to be the government that kills you. It's going to be...
Ah, yes. 1 trillion people killed by communism. Yeah, you got me, dude. Yep, I haven't heard that one before.
mobs of people. They're going to show up at
Hey, you guys want to talk about how many people die under capitalism every day or every year? You guys want to talk about how many deaths occur because of famine, hunger? Like how many deaths or war caused by capitalism? Do you really want to dig into that? Do you really want to dig into the numbers behind that, my dude? Do you want to talk about the ideology behind authoritarian communist regimes such as the USSR and China? Do you want to talk about how China has more billionaires than any other country on Earth? Or has the most new billionaires achieving billionaireism each day, or millionaires each day than any other country on Earth? Do you want to talk about how the USSR did not have, do you want to talk about the USSR and how they did not follow, Stalin did not follow Marx's layout or outline for how a revolution ought to happen, how they went about their process terribly, and that's why they faced the famines that they did, and also, Stalin was pretty racist towards the ethnic Ukrainians and basically allowed them to starve, even though he could have done something about it if he really tried. Stalin didn't listen to Marx. Marx believed that in order to have a successful communist revolution, or socialist revolution, because Marx used communism and socialism fairly interchangeably, apparently, from what I've heard. What happened was the USSR, or Russia as we now know it, the land that this existed on, wasn't very industrially built up when the USSR came to power. So what happened was they needed a workforce to rapidly industrialize this nation very quickly. And to do this, they needed to take workers away from the fields and the farms and allocate them to building factories and working factories to build up their, their productive value? Build up the productive forces? Build up productive forces, I think it's called. Does anyone know? Anyone in chat know? Build up your productive forces, I believe it is. They reallocated a bunch of farm workers and people working in agriculture to work in factories. And this, on top of a bunch of climate disasters and or natural disasters and climate change and whatnot, resulted in a massive famine because there weren't enough people working the fields to create enough food. And so the USSR got hit with a massive famine. And then on top of that, a lot of ethnic minorities in the USSR were hated by the people and by those in power, including Stalin himself. And so he was more willing, and the people in power were more willing to allow the famine to kill millions of ethnic Ukrainians and other minorities in that country. And more or less, that is why we see the death tolls under communism that we see. It's very complicated. There's even a lot of debate as to whether or not the USSR could even be called communist, because stateless, classless society is the most broad definition of communism, and the USSR was not a stateless, classless society, to say the least. There was class, there was a state, and there was definitely money, I believe. I believe there was money. Didn't they have, labor vouchers or something? I forget exactly what it was. But yeah, very fucking complicated thing. The whole billion, trillion, bazillion deaths under communism thing is really, really fucking stupid.
home. You're going to try your best to pick off a few with your AR-15.
Also, thank you to Cyberwitch Lexi for her tutoring me on USSR history, because that's where I learn a lot of my shit, okay? Is good meme, because she's not... Everything else, I get a little worried that every other source I might look up might be CIA propaganda.
$1,200 AR-15 that you customized and built yourself, but at the end of the day, you are going to be killed, and the media will ignore it, and the police won't be there to help you, and the government will do absolutely nothing about it. And I thought that we'd get into this a little bit later, but it fits better now, which is that whenever conservatives are discussing who's really the enemy, whenever we talk about, hey, off the record, what's really going on here? Who's really in charge? We still only identify the enemy within the approved frame. Like, I get emails every day from well-intentioned people with links.
It's the Jews. Just say it. Just say it, John. It's the Jews. It's the Jews and the Stacys and the Chads. The Jews are allowing the Chads... well, no, they're the Tyrones, because he's racist, too. The Jews are empowering and funding the Tyrones to steal your white, beautiful Stacys and Veronicas and impregnate them with half-white, half-black children to cause white genocide to happen, to outbreed the whites. Of course, that's what you believe, right? That's clearly what you believe. Just say it, John. Just say it. Just say it, Doyle. Say it, you fucking soy boy. Jeez, John. You'd think if it was back in the 1950s, you'd be less afraid to say what you believe. Come on, you fucking soy boy.
Links to these forums talking about how World War II never ended. John, the Nazis have taken over the U.S. government. Or John, wake up, look at Antifa. They're fascists. And it's like, I get that. I get what you're saying. I don't like Nazis. I don't like fascists. They don't like me. But if we were really...
He doesn't like fascists. He doesn't like Nazis. And they certainly don't like him.
Fighting those guys, we'd have no idea about it. You know what I mean? Like, my grandpa served alongside General Patton in World War II, which is something I'm very proud of. So by the time I was 3 years old, I could tell you that the Nazis are the bad guys. By the time any American leaves middle school, they can tell you that the Nazis are bad and that fascism is bad. And of course that's true.
Really? Wait, that fascism and Nazis are bad? Really? You really think that every American after leaving middle school could say that? Because I can tell you personally, granted, if we're both going to be Anecdote Andys, and I'll be Anecdote Andy. I was taught in school? Do you guys want to know what I was taught in school? I was taught that World War II and the Nazis, all that shit, like the last Nazis died off, decades ago. That was a long time ago. That's all in the past. That the Civil War was fought over states' rights, and that was all a thing of the past. All that long time ago. Long time ago. Slavery, long gone. Segregation, long gone. Redlining, long gone. Not even worth acknowledging or talking about anymore. That's what I came out of public school learning, okay? So, I don't know if I necessarily agree with John Doyle's characterization of the public education system and the general population's idea of what fascism is. Granted, most people think Antifa is fascist, or a significant amount of Americans think Antifa is fascist, because they don't know the difference between fascism and authoritarianism, or authoritarianism, yeah. I don't agree with John Doyle here. The American people are pretty fucking dumb in this respect. Alright, John, you got 1 more minute to make an argument, my dude. 1 more minute to make an argument.
True, but it really makes you wonder why we aren't taught the same about communists. Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, Pol Pot, Fidel Castro, or any one of these figures who have killed millions.
We are. We're literally taught in school that communism killed a billion bajillion people. The reason why communism and Nazism aren't put up on the same pedestal as though they were equal together, or equal to each other, is because the ideology of communism and the ideology of Nazism and fascism are diametrically opposed to each other. Communism is intrinsically anti-authoritarian, anti-hierarchy, pro-equality, and pro-equality, while fascism is pro-hierarchy, pro-authoritarianism, anti-equality, and then a bunch of other bad things on top of that. Sexism, glorification of machismo, nationalism, all these things that communism is not and is opposed to, that fascism is in favor of. Communism is a political ideology that has been tried a few times and failed, or has been deliberately kneecapped and what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Help me out, chat. Sabotaged by imperialist capitalist nations such as the U.S. Coups in Bolivia, blah blah blah. We all know about the coups in South America and so on, and which has had a terrible result in the world. While fascism has succeeded, and in its success has had terrible outcomes. Fascism was succeeding back when the Nazis were exterminating the Jews and the black people and the gays and other minorities. That was fascism succeeding. That was fascism doing what it's supposed to do. The famines under the USSR was communism not doing what it's supposed to do. If you could even argue that was an attempt at communism. That was a failed attempt at communism. That's what happens when communism fails. Genocide is what happens when fascism succeeds.
Millions upon millions more than Nazis or fascists, and I have to stress, this is not a defense of those, obviously. The point is that for whatever reason, we're taught that Nazis and fascists are the worst things ever because of mass murder and unprecedented and incomprehensible human rights violations.
Yes, for some reason.
We learn virtually nothing about the same and even vastly worse crimes coming from communists. And the reason for that is that two of the biggest features of fascism were that it was opposed to communism and that it was nationalist. And so for conservatives such as myself who are opposed to communism and who believe that America should put the interests of her people first, well, now we can be accused of being fascists. And we've already learned that the worst thing that you can be is a
he's literally going back and forth saying, I'm not a fascist, I don't like fascism, but why is fascism viewed as so badly when communism, blah, blah. Yeah, but communism, yeah, no, so the reason why communism, like fascists, like the Nazis hated communism, at least he's not doing, yeah, that's a good face to pause on, at least he's not doing the Nazis were socialists or Nazis were communist thing, because the Nazis were blatantly anti-communist and anti-socialist, they hated it, they may have been called the National Socialists, but They hated it. They literally punished communists. They killed communists and socialists. There was the USSR that came along from the east and came and fucked Germany in the ass and liberated a bunch of concentration camps. They did not like each other very much because their ideologies are diametrically opposed and not comparable.
Fascist. And so if you're a communist, you're in a nice little position now because no one knows anything about you or your history, and things that would make it harder for you to succeed, such as an opposition to communism or a love of America.
I'm pretty sure when people think of communism generally, especially in America, wait, is he denying the Red Scare happened? Do we need to talk about the Red Scare? The Red Scare is a promotion of widespread fear of a potential rise of communism or anarchism by a society or state. The name refers to the red flags the communists use. The term is used most often to refer to two periods in history of the United States which are referred to by this name. There have been periods in American history where it has been, you could be arrested by the government if you were suspected of being a communist. The McCarthyism. You could literally be arrested for being suspected of being a communist. But you know, the American society just generally just gives communists a free pass. Can we actually get an argument, please, John Doyle? That's not like easy to debunk with just any basic understanding of history.
Can now be labeled as fascism. And we all know that fascism is bad, but communism isn't. In fact, it sounds rather nice. A society where everyone is equal, state-enforced equality. Wait, duh, that seems so obvious. Why didn't we think of
state-enforced equality in a stateless, classless society? Interesting. Okay, John Doyle has gone 10 minutes without making an argument, and as I said, I even gave him an extra 9 seconds to make an argument without strawmanning, and he hasn't done it, so probably not worth responding much more, but I will give my little last thesis here on this segment. So, John Doyle is a truly pathetic specimen of a human being. He is physically pathetic, but not only that, he is also, in every way, intellectually dishonest. It's actually crazy to me how he can engage in so many strawmans and misunderstandings of basic concepts, and lack of understanding and just basic political ideologies and historical concepts. It's really, really embarrassing, honestly. And the fact that he has so many subscribers is scary to me because the right is not very picky with who they want to represent their ideologies. They're very dumb. And they know that the general population is dumb enough to be pulled to an even dumber ideology. And that's what's so scary here. It's very easy for him to make this video where he just says a lot of things that are short, quippy, and wrong. And it takes a lot for me to do the research and make up the arguments to argue against it. It's hard for me. It's actually hard. It takes breath, it takes knowledge, I have to actually, do research on it to debunk the short, quippy, wrong things that he says, because the things that John Doyle says feel very, they feel very intuitively correct. If you just know nothing about these topics and you just go off of what you think and your experiences, they feel intuitively correct. But to correct these misconceptions and these falsify his arguments, I have to do a ton of research. I have to cite data. I have to look into his misquotations of when he miscites data. I have to go look at the actual thing what the data says to find it doesn't say what he thinks it does. It's tough. It's hard. And it's the unending struggle that we on the left have, having to actually find the truth of the matter so we can fight against misinformation at the right pushes. That's the endless, unending torrent of arguments that we have to have on the left. And it sucks, but hey, I'm all here for it. That's what I'm here to do, and I'm never going to stop.